Hello and good morning. This is Michael Cups from The Habit Architect. I'm looking forward to the conversation today for a lot of reasons, but I'm really pleased that you're here. And in this episode in particular, I urge you to write questions or comments, statements, etc., because the guest that's going to join me, both he and I are comfortable taking those questions. And it's a topic that I think everybody thinks about at one point or another, or have felt the pull one way or another. So we're talking about alcohol today, the drinking culture that pervasive in business, particularly from my perspective, and I think our guest perspective, sales and marketing. It becomes a centerpiece of everything you do, and even when it doesn't need to be. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why it's such a strong habit, or maybe it didn't start as a habit, but it becomes a habit, and maybe the science around that, where there's a cue and an action, and how you kind of interrupt that if you're interested in changing that behavior. So we'll talk about all of that. Carson's going to join me. By the way, I do have two. Backed up there. Carson is going to join me in just a moment, but I want to mention this. If you go to timebandit.io, there is a free resources area, and you can download a Build a Habit and Break a Habit. And I think it's a really good tool for this conversation because it walks through a step-by-step way of thinking about habit formation or habit changing. And if you're thinking about breaking the habit of drinking alcohol, that's one way, or even moderation. So it's there. So before I go too much into that, let's bring on Carson Heady. Carson is an author. He is a leader within Microsoft, and he has been for years. He's generating great follow on LinkedIn. Carson, good to see you again.
Michael, back at you, man. Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, me too. I got to ask you to do one thing, which is introduce yourself further, because I gave just a highlight of it. And then secondly, you said you're repping teams behind you. What are the teams you're repping today?
Oh, of course. So my San Francisco 49ers and St. Louis Cardinals, as well as Aston Martin.
Okay, very good. Well, you've got one still in it. The Cowboys here in Dallas, they're going home already. So
the Niners have been battered and bruised all season, but yet they're emerging victorious. So it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, fun team. Excellent. So tell everybody about yourself, just a little bit more detail, maybe.
Yeah, I'm just a guy that lives in the Midwest U.S., based in St. Louis. Wife, 3 daughters, and I've been in sales and sales leadership for 26 years. So I've been very fortunate. I've written 6 books, and I get to speak and train and coach all over the world.
Yeah, and it is a great lifestyle, and it affords us a lot. I've been in the sales and marketing space as well for a little bit longer than you. I hate to say that, but a little bit longer than you. But
you wear it well. You wear it well, Michael.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Well, maybe it's because I stopped drinking a few years ago. That's helping, So that'll lead us right into our topic. So today, Carson, what I'd like to talk about is I just mentioned it. I did give up drinking a few years ago in 2023. That is. I wish I would have at 23, but 2023 is 32. And when I start thinking about it and why I'm really looking forward to this call, I mean, just the culture that you and I kind of grew up in our careers, at least. I mean, it is pervasive. It's if you think about it, you have a bad day in the office with the team, you go have a drink you have a big win, you go have a drink, you go to sales meetings, at group things, and even at conferences, it's all around the happy hour, things like that. It's pervasive, and I'm not criticizing it necessarily, but it does become a challenge for people, I think.
It is. And there's a lot of things that, look, I'm 47 years old. I think I'm grateful to have gotten to the point where I at least understand the why behind those things, the dopamine chasing that we're doing, the social element, the fact that it reduces inhibitions and makes you feel more comfortable in social situations because you have social anxiety. Like I've been there and I've had all those things, but I've done some reading on the topic, and there's some great books out there like Sober on a Drunk Planet. It's a great series. Mark Manson, who I've read a lot of this year, who wrote Subtle Art and has his own podcast called Solved. They talk about it. He's sober now. And so really, I think being able to look back and understand the why, like I was chasing, feeling like I was part of something, and it was just what everybody else was doing. But, I think about it like my kids, at least, the majority of them, they've never had a drop, and they function just fine. Like we all get dysregulated. It's all about what you choose to do in those types of situations and making different choices.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a recent Gallup poll. I think it was a poll. It was last month, and drinking in the U.S. is down overall. You know, it's down now. When they interviewed people, it was 54% of people said they still drink. That's down from like 72% in the late 70s and early 80s, right? And then, but it was when you go into the younger generations, you're right. They're adopting it less and less, which is good. Uh, Hopefully there's not a replacement for that for them, but there is that's numbers coming down. And I think it's chasing. I have a good friend who runs a winery, and he's thinking about different alternatives, whether it's non-alcohol wine or specializing in certain groups, et cetera, like that. But that's a good trend for us to see. But like you said, when I entered sales as a young person, you sometimes mimic the people that are already there, and I think that's a trap right off the bat, right? For people, is they feel like you said something there. You said I wanted to feel to be a part of something, and that kind of comes with it, doesn't it?
Bingo. It happens as a result of pressure of some sort, right? You go into these situations, and I didn't take my first drink until literally I was at a high school party, and every single person around me was drinking, and it was expected.
Yeah.
Same thing with going into a career and going out after the sales day, and everybody's sitting around drinking a beer and commiserating, and it's just it becomes kind of what you do. You don't know better to make different choices.
Right.
It's easy now to look back again, understanding like why I was doing what I was doing, why I was making that decision. But you're right, it is part of that culture because a lot of people make that choice. But the reality is, you're putting poison in your body. A lot of people,
Yeah.
everybody smoked
Yeah.
until we realized how freaking horrible it was for us and that it was killing us. And so I've just made the decision now that I know and I understand, like, the extent of poison that I've put in my body over all these decades. Like, I don't want to make that decision anymore. And there are better ways to unwind and to decompress. And frankly, I'm a better version of myself. In fact, like going on the road.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful when I'm able to be at the top of my game in a sales
Yeah.
meeting like I was last week, and I'm completely unencumbered. And it wouldn't have been that way if I'd have gone out with everybody else the night before.
Yeah, exactly. If you think back to the times where you did drink, or I did drink, and you didn't perform at your best, it's such a wasted opportunity. But it is also, I get how people get there, right? The team is going out. Maybe it's the top salesperson of your team, so you kind of want to gravitate to them to hopefully learn from them. And they're setting a pattern that it has nothing to do with their sales capability. It has to do with just their personal habits. It's interesting. Yeah, you said something there. I agree. When I decided to become sober, and started reading about what it does to you.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And a little bit later on, I want to talk about how you feel after. But let's stay on this culture a bit more. I travel a lot. I think you do too. And when I did get sober and I started watching, there is alcohol at every step of the way. When you get to the airport, there are bars everywhere. You go, if you happen to have a credit card that gets you in a lounge, there may be free drinks there. Then you get on the plane, there's drinks. You get to your hotel, in the hotel lobby, there's a bar. You see that before you even see your room half the time. It is just everywhere in your face too, right?
It's hard to do it by yourself. I admit when I first started down this path, there were times where I just would not go to some of the after hours events because I knew that it would be very hard for me. I also found and gravitated toward these recess drinks that I found on Amazon, and I would find them in cities that I would go to, and I would literally have them door dashed to me so that I could drink those in my room, and it would like just calm the nerves and bring down the anxiety. I did that for months after I first started. My last drink was on September 13th of 2024. And, for the first, I'd say several months, I was, I would try to shy away from some of those types of experiences. And, but when you go, it's not easy because you're changing habits. You're changing what you're used to doing as your go-to move when you're stressed out or when you want to relax. You're shifting gears. I don't even give it a second thought now.
Right.
I got really used to drinking a lot of club soda and, just not putting myself in some of those situations. And, I want to be frank, like, if you're coming up in sales, you're going to be invited to these things. And like, I'm in a position now where I've done a lot of things. I've had a lot of great experiences. I have a title that some people think is cool. And so like, I probably have less pressure on me to fit in and do great things because I'm not trying to go anywhere at this stage. But for some, it's very challenging because it's easy to get sucked into that vortex. It is very much still a part of that culture.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely is. And you're right. When I decided to quit, and by the way, I'm a little bit ahead of you. I think I looked at my time habit tracker today, 764 days, I think it is, since I stopped. And the interesting thing is how people react to when for us, we stop later in our career, and people have known us and probably had a drink with us along the way. And when you say I'm not drinking tonight, they kind of wonder, are you okay health wise? And then there's more questions. Then when it becomes a pattern, they're like, what's going on here? I actually found it like you did. I just avoided the situation for a little while. Didn't want to have the conversation because I just didn't want to have the conversation. But then as I got back into kind of going out, just because I missed talking to the team, I just said I'm not a drinker. I just kind of mentally said I'm not a drinker, and most of them say, okay, no problem. And you get an iced tea or, like you said, soda water or whatever. But it is an interesting thing, the way people react when you stop.
What's sad, I guess, is that I almost feel like I have to defend myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I've had to say, oh, I don't drink anymore. And trust me, I drank plenty. Like, I don't know why sometimes I feel like I have to defend myself. But I do. And it's because I'm part of that culture, part of the sales culture. Most people, though, I will say, like people that I work with have been super amazing about it. Like they don't put pressure. They know because I'm open to talking about it on social media. Like I've reached a point in my life and career where, I am about as authentic as I can be. And I love sharing my experiences, good and bad, in the hopes to help others. And sobriety has been one of them. And it's because I hope that it helps somebody out there. And I've had messages with people that have said like, hey, I take interest in this. And, but I agree with you. It is challenging at first to find the right words to explain it, especially when, these people have seen you be the life of the party. And now all of a sudden you're swilling club sodas like they're going out of style. I've literally just said, I don't drink anymore. They'll ask me, oh, well, is that permanent? Right. Just making that choice. I don't want to drink. It's, I've got to be on my A game tomorrow or whatever. And usually a couple responses and, it goes back to normal.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And it's interesting. I think people do relax, and I suspect, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings if they're watching this, that I've been around, is they're starting to question their choice. When we say I'm not a drinker for health reasons or whatever, they start, they order that second or third beer and they're probably thinking, should I be doing this for myself? Not much less about what Cups's choice was, right? I think that mirror kind of pops up in some of those cases. One more thing on the drink culture. It's interesting because I was in Mexico last week. We have a team in Guadalajara, and we had a holiday event. And it wasn't so much the peers as the establishment kept coming around saying, you want to drink. And then, in Mexico, it can get kind of rowdy, and they're trying to get shots everywhere. And
oh, yeah.
It was almost more frustrating to the wait staff, I think, that I wasn't drinking than the people around me. So it's.
Well, yeah. They're motivated and incentivized to sell a product and make tips. And, everybody's programmed a certain way by environments. And, eventually, like I got into the sales culture before my frontal cortex was fully developed, right? So, I wasn't even making great decisions in my own right, and got sucked into the culture and just realized like, oh, hey, this stuff, I feel pretty good. I read something that Mark Manson said in one of his books, and, it's basically the fact that like drinking alcohol is like, on any given day, like, we're trying to find balance. You have some days you feel like a 10, you got some days you feel like a 3. And like lo and behold, like if you can be a 6 or a 7 on any given day, you're winning. And what I found interesting is that alcohol robs from tomorrow's happiness. If you drink, it may make you feel like a 10 in the moment, like, oh, this is awesome. And that's why we do it. Right. But the reality is tomorrow I'm going to be a 3 because I'm going to feel like garbage. And that's the thing. It's like I've just made a conscious decision at this stage in my life and my career and the model that I'm trying to be for my kids, that I'd rather make better choices, and I'd rather be a 6 or 7 every day and sometimes be a 10.
Yeah.
And you can be a 10 in other ways, by seeing your kids do great things, or
Yeah.
by listening to your favorite song on repeat, or reading a really great book, or having conversations
Yeah.
like this. I come alive when I
Yeah.
talk to other people and connect, and it can replace that feeling that you think you're having with alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the exercises I take some of my customers through with the time bending stuff is that hierarchy of values. And it always kind of intrigues me when I ask what's your values, and they'll say, health, family, wealth, whatever, those three things off the top of their head. And then when we talk about their habits, well, what they're doing when they stop off at the bar before they go see their family really isn't their number three or two or one priority. It becomes under alcohol. And it becomes very clear when you start paying attention to that. What's really important to you. And like you said, you can be a 10 in other things that may mean more to other people than being the life of the party type of thing. And I think that's a hard adjustment for people to think about, because it is a downhill slope habit. I think for me, it was, I was finally, fine just having a drink once, with somebody. And then the next day it's 2 drinks, and the next day it's 3 drinks. And all of a sudden you just find yourself, every time you go to the airport, you're in the lounge having a drink. And it just makes this, it just accumulates over time, where we see that cue, whatever that cue is. Maybe it's walking in the airport, maybe it's the stress of waiting in the TSA line, whatever. That's the cue. And the next action, the decision you make, is that next action is what's really the most important thing.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
I think the key element is life comes down to choices. And, every day we get opportunities to invest in the person that we want to be. And both you and I came to a point in our lives where we started making different choices. And I think that's the key element. And everybody has that opportunity every day. It's not always going to be easy. I mean, literally just within the last week, I've said, man, it'd be really nice to just go back to feeling like a 10 in this moment. Who cares what I feel like tomorrow? But, you distract or dissuade or dive into something else. And, it's like emotions. It's a wave, and it will come and go. And then the next day you thank God with every ounce of your being that you made the right choice.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I wonder if you want to talk about the science a little bit. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, the dopamine. And what I find when I talk to people that either quit or want to quit, they're trying to escape something. And like you said, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's other things. But when they decide to put a drink in, they're probably trying to get away from something.
It is. I think it was reading a lot of Simon Sinek and Start With Why and Leaders Eat Last, and understanding that the science behind it is that, and it's around us so many places. It's on my phone. It's when I get that notification. It's, there's that immediate dopamine hit. Like when I post something on LinkedIn and I get a like, ooh, yay. Like, we want that. We crave that. And, alcohol provides the exact same thing. It contains dopamine. It makes us feel great in that moment. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I enjoyed sitting out on my back porch, drinking and listening to music, because I've just felt like I was on this other level. But the reality is I also love just listening to music.
Right.
And so I think that's the key element, is you've got to gravitate toward just things that make you feel good, that are also good for you. Because we are programmed to like seek that affirmation, that immediate like spike. And so when we get that spike, we're constantly chasing it. I mean, it's why people drink. It's why people gamble. It's why people have other addictions, both healthy and unhealthy. And I've just chosen to try to seek out addictions like reading and listening to music that are good for me.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. And I think it's interesting once you get away from it a little bit. It's hard in probably the first 30, 60 days, because there you're just trying to kind of white knuckle the decision after you see the cue or the urge. But once you get a little time there, what I like about it is I am making different choices. I'll go try something else. I'll do something different that I wouldn't have done before, out of pattern. And it may be incredibly enriching. It may be a waste of my time, but at least I tried something new. And I don't think if you stay in the same pattern, you get that opportunity.
I get better energy from just, going to the gym and working out, and any pull that I had to make a bad decision for me is gone.
Yeah, me too. And what I kind of ended up doing when I felt stress, when I got that stress and you knew it coming on, maybe it was a customer was unhappy, whatever it was, I would just go walk around the block, and it became, that became because amazingly, when you start moving your body and maybe fresh air hits your face, that stress tends to find its way out of your body as well. So it's kind of a neat thing. So you chose sobriety. Have you talked to people or in just about moderation? Not necessarily for you, but for others.
Yeah, I mean, look, when it comes up in conversation, I think there is that natural curiosity, people wondering why I made the choice I made. And frankly, like I wouldn't have done it, nor would I be able to do it if it wasn't for my wife. She was actually a driver in the decision for both of us. We went through very challenging times a few years back, and just realized as well, like this was no longer serving us in any way, shape, or form. And I mean, we were fully functioning, and like, look, we could have absolutely made the decision to do moderation, but there's just there is no, for me personally, there's no benefit to having that spike for the moment and then going back the next day and having to live through being at a 3 and then getting myself back to equilibrium. And look, I don't begrudge anybody that drinks. Like I did it for a long time, right? So like that's it. Everybody makes their own choices, and I think there's a lot of people out there that don't think anything of it to have one or two, a glass of wine with dinner or whatever. I think that's great. I think it's awesome. I mean, there are, and you read, I mean, there with wine, like there's health benefits and things like that, and there's if you're able to do it in a way where it does not, radically take you off of your, I liken it to a drive, right? I try to keep a steady hand on the wheel in my life at all times. And I view that steady hand on the wheel as like that 6 or 7, like Mark Manson says. And if you're able to like stay, full guns a-blazing and all the commitments that you have that matter, like your family and your work and those types of things, and it doesn't distract or dissuade from that, mad props to you. Great. I can't, and I don't want to try.
Yeah. That's the same with me. I'm at that point too. I really don't care if I'm sitting down with somebody and they want to have a drink. It doesn't affect me in any way, right? It just doesn't matter to me. Now they may feel a little odd about it, but let's talk about some of the benefits, if you don't mind. When you decided to quit, maybe we can compare notes. At the first 30 days, 60 days, and now. I mean, what do you think the benefits are physically? Let's start there.
It's the clarity. It's strange how just clear and focused I feel all the time. I didn't have that for a long time. It was like a fog, and it was like I was forcing myself to go through the motions in particular days. And don't get me wrong, man, life is hard. Like it is challenging, but like, wouldn't you rather face your challenges head on at full capacity as opposed to like, being hungover and feeling like garbage? Like those are the types of things that I think about. I won't go into like detail of like just functionality, like wise, you just work better. Like getting older, like you already have stuff that like hurts and, stuff that changes physically. But like what I love about it is just I feel more energy, natural energy every single day as a result. And it compounds over time. I've had a lot of people say like the first year is the hardest. And it's true. Like I was like praying to God that I would get to this point. Right. And now I don't even think about it. Like, I mean, months have passed since that point, and I don't even think about it anymore. But I was almost like counting down to the days, like I just got to get to a year. I'll feel better, blah, 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 this and that. Now it's like not even, I don't really think about it too much. I do want to hit.
I was going to say, did you see the
I want to hit Andrew's question. So talking about favorite song to put on repeat. It really honestly depends. And clearly, that I'm a big fan of Gavin DeGraw. I do like his songs I Don't Want to Be and Soldier. But like I also go through waves and phases. So like right now I'm in a big Beatles phase. I just went through a big Elvis phase. There's nothing like listening to like some live Elvis stuff to like get you like feeling like you could take on the world. I need the music that moves me, the stuff that just makes me feel like I can get lost in it, and that's the kind of stuff that I need, because like it helps me gravitate toward feeling something different than feeling the stress or feeling the lull in the moment.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for the question, Andrew, as well. I'm right there with you. The first 30 to 60 days was interesting for me because I was my partner Catherine actually went to France. She's French, and she went to France for 2 or 3 weeks right after I decided to. So I was just me and my dog figuring this out. But after you get through 60 days, I agree. The clarity is there. The sleep. I mean, you can get good quality sleep, and there's just little things that compound that make it's just you can make better decisions on a dime versus if you did wake up after a few drinks and you feel groggy and you're just not thinking clearly. But when you're sober, it's absolutely within your realm to do better things, greater things, I think.
I have kids, so I don't sleep that well anyway, but I agree with you on the sleep element. Like, the sleep is real.
Yeah,
I mean, the reading that I did, Michael, like, to realize, like, when you have too many and you pass out, like, you're not actually sleeping. Like,
right.
you're just drugged.
Yeah,
And it's that's a very pun intended sobering thought, to realize that, like, you're not giving your body the rest that it needs and craves. That's why you're not recuperating.
yeah,
You're doing so much damage to yourself, and I just the benefits far outweigh any perceived benefit of drinking.
yeah. I agree. I agree. And other than that, and like you said, we decided to stop much later in our career, so maybe we didn't feel that for young people entering. I promise you, if you don't have a drink, you will still be a part of the team, and you may be the best part of the team at the end of the day because of clarity and things like that. But otherwise, I agree. Mixing work and alcohol is probably one of the worst things for productivity than anything in the world. But that's what we were talking before. This Mad Men, Wolf of Wall Street. They kind of build it up as the best part of being successful, and it's actually not. So.
Yeah, but all those people crashed. Like,
Yeah,
that's what we'll talk about. We look at hey, yeah, we're winning. But you know what? The party comes to an end one way or another, and could come to an end very tragically.
yes,
I look back and I just realized there was never a single positive thing that came out of me drinking ever. Like, not even one. So, like, why in God's name would I choose to do it again? And I think too, you almost, like, when you're younger, there's that sense of invincibility. Like, yeah, I mean, I
yes,
could go and party and stay up till 3 a.m. and then somehow turn around and be at work the next day. And I thought I was fully functioning. Like, that party ends too.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just I just can't say enough to try to dissuade people from making that choice. There are better choices to make.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So, new habits. What are some of those choices that you've kind of added to your life or enriched your life? Maybe you were doing them already, but it's better now.
Yeah, I mean, I think even leaning into, I love exercise. And I mean, even like I've gotten to a point where, like, my knees are not what they were. I can't run 5 miles a day anymore. My elbow, I've got tendonitis. And so my lifting looks different. And, when I work out, I look like the Bionic Man because I've got, straps and, stuffed sleeves all over me. But, the key element is, like, just gravitating toward these things, like, making sure that I'm being active every single day. And there's so many ways to do it. I mean, I can take my dog for a walk. I can listen to an audiobook. I've become obsessed with Audible, and,
Yeah,
just diving into books and constantly looking at ways to sharpen the axe. Like, find books that you can get lost in.
yeah,
I've been studying legends, like, just reading about all the way from, like, Michelangelo to Michael Jordan to,
yeah.
right now I'm reading the audio biography of Andre Agassi. And it's great because, like,
Yeah.
I hated Andre Agassi when I was younger because I loved watching tennis, and it was the whole image is everything. And it's like, this
Mhm.
pretty boy. And I was like a scrawny, ugly duckling high schooler. And so, like, this guy just hated everything he stood for. But, like, to dive into his book and realize that he faced so many similar feelings
Yeah.
than I've felt throughout my life, and he made choices, and now he's got the benefit of hindsight. It's just, I love diving into stuff like that. Find books that you can get lost in. And even if, like, you weren't, or you don't consider yourself like a big reader.
Yeah.
Plus, nowadays, I mean, there's so many, you can go out and you can ask your AI
Yeah.
large language model, hey, give me some things that I can dive into. My kids even have this chart out there that's like, it's called bored. And it's like, have you been outside? Have you offered to help someone? It's like just
Yeah.
different, stuff to divert you. Like, we make bad decisions when we're bored or when we, like, need that dopamine hit. And
Yep.
honestly, understanding the why behind it, there's a heck of a lot better ways for me to go get dopamine. I'll go to the gym. I'll get on the treadmill on a conference call,
Yep.
take the dog for a walk. And by the time I get back, I don't even think about drinking anymore.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I actually I always walked my dog, but now I walk my dog plus some, just because I like the time in the morning I can really think. I now do about 5 to 6 miles a day. Most of that in the morning, but some of it in the evening, because I just want to, after a long day, you just stretch your legs. I have started working out more too, just like no, you were working out already, but I kind of jumped back into it, and it just feels better when you can feel your body becoming stronger. There's just something powerful about that I think is more powerful than the dopamine of a drink, at least. But that's interesting. The thing about habit formation is tough, because a lot of habits we form, we don't really realize we formed them until it's too late, or it's harder to change because it's become that way. And the one thing that really helped me from a habit perspective, somebody told me just take a pause, and I was like, oh, take a pause, okay, like meditation, yeah, sure, meditation's good, but that's not what she was talking about. So what she said is, when there's a cue, when there's an urge, for anything, whether it's eating, drinking, whatever you do that you want to break, there's an urge, and then right after that urge, there's a moment, and if you can pause, you get to choose more freely the next action, right? And when we're in bad habits, urge, we drink, urge, drink, but if we can just put that pause in there, just take a breath, 3 breaths, whatever you need to make a better choice. I just think that is something that we haven't taught our kids over the years. I mean, we talk about habits all through life, but we talk about bad habits, but we never really show them how to navigate that. And I think you mastered it too. Any thoughts on that topic?
Find something to fill the pause and don't do it alone. Look, I've benefited a great deal from the fact that, like I said, my wife made the decision for us. Like I didn't really have a choice. And so, but then eventually it became a choice, because I've had a ton of opportunity. I travel, and I could have easily done it and lied about it, but I didn't. I chose to stay on this path because it was meaningful to us. But I've benefited a great deal, Michael, from having other people to talk to about it. Like people have come out of the woodwork. Even like this conversation, like this isn't a conversation that, if I'd have kept it to myself, or, struggled with it by myself, like conversations like this wouldn't come out that reinforce the quality of my decision. And be curious about it, like read about it. Like I strongly suggest going out and finding Sober on a Drunk Planet, because it gives you the things to do and to think about in that pause. That pause is mission critical, because we still face it. Something, happens with a family member, or, you have a horrible day at work or whatever it is. Like 5 years ago, I would have poured myself a vodka and probably had 4 or 5. And nowadays it's, I'm going to take a moment. I might listen to a song. I might sit down with my wife, have her hold my hand while I talk to her about my terrible day. Like, just, there's so many things that are better for you, but what you do in that pause is everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We've covered a lot of ground here, Carson. Anything that you wanted to talk about that I haven't asked or brought up yet?
I mean, you talked about the whys and the benefits. I actually heard this term, and I was like, wow, that's an interesting concept. I was having a conversation with someone 6 months ago, and she had the term sober curious. And I'd never heard that before. And it's like, but the more that I kind of gravitate toward, on this journey, like I've heard the term pop up a couple of times, and people say that they're sober curious. And I think now's a really interesting time where people are, because we have so much information at our fingertips. And I also think that the pandemic just fundamentally changed so much, because we were, kind of forced to go into ourselves, and we start to analyze our lives and our choices. And I don't know, I think a lot of people are looking at things differently, to the point that you made earlier. Like, even alcohol is down. If you are curious about it, like, there's so many resources, and even like guys like us, I mean, I wouldn't have any qualms. I've had people reach out to me on LinkedIn and other social platforms to ask me questions about it. Happy to help. I'm just an imperfect human trying to do the best I can in this world, like everybody else. And, again, because I make these choices for myself every day, it doesn't mean I begrudge the people that make the exact same choices that I made for 30 years. 2025 will be the first calendar year for me in 30 years where I won't take a drink. And my age 46 was the first year for me that I didn't take a drink. And, it's not easy. Don't do it alone. The pros far outweigh the cons. There are no pros to drinking, really. And, I encourage you to explore and to do the detective work that makes it a better choice for you.
Yeah, I agree. And I would call out that when I posted something on LinkedIn a while back about, I think it was following you had your days up there. I said, oh, I made it this far. I actually had somebody reach out from Atlanta, and they were struggling, and it helped them, and they're on our journey now too. And that's the most rewarding thing. I'm happy to help anybody that wants to do that. I'd say there's a couple of resources, and I'll put them in the chat following the conversation. One is Or Health, and I've interviewed Jonathan, who is the CEO of Or Health. And I'm not suggesting this for everybody, but if you want help, there is a particular medication that reduces urges for alcohol, and he created a subscription business around that. And I'll put his firm up there. They do good work. And then I think the usuals, AA, and another one that I think the world of is Smart Recovery, because they're cognitive based, theory based, and science. And so both of them are good. But just like you said, just find somebody and talk to them, if nothing else. So. I would encourage people to follow our pattern. Not that we're glamorous examples of before and after, but we made it to the after. So we at least tell you what we've learned along the way. So,
amen to that.
Yeah. So, Carson, if somebody wants to reach you or find your books, why don't you drop a little plug for yourself here?
Yeah. LinkedIn is the place. And there's the link. That's where you can find me. I'm also out on Twitter, and have a site at carsonvheady.com. Books are all available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The last one was Unbeatable, and the one before that was The Show Must Go On. Very personal, and I talk a little bit about my sobriety journey as well. Just kind of what led me here, and why I, have made new choices as I've gotten older and hopefully wiser. So hope to connect with others on the journey.
All right. And I asked two questions, but you already answered one, really. You talked about tomorrow being more important than what you did yesterday. So we'll skip that one. But what's one habit that Carson will do every day, no matter what?
Anchoring on gratitude. I think you're familiar with Mastering Modern Selling, and we had the opportunity to talk to Anthony Iannarino on that show, and he really instilled in me the power of gratitude and gratitude journaling and reflection every day. And it ties into your other question anyway. I realized through going through this exercise where basically you list the things that happened today that were great, but also why they happened. And I found even on the days that I would have called my worst days, I was thankful for the most things. And the reasons that they happened were sometimes seeds that I had planted 10 years ago. And so we're always making deposits into the person that we want to be. And so that's what we control. Every choice, you're making a deposit into the person. You're casting a vote for the person that you want to be tomorrow. And I take that responsibility very seriously. And I don't always get it right. I still screw up with my wife and my kids and whatever. But I continue to try to get better.
Yeah. I love it. I love that. The deposit thing is just a great visual. I think that's great. Excellent. Thank you for sharing everything. If you are watching this podcast and you are struggling, do seek help. There's a lot of help out there. If you can read about it, you can find just do a search on podcasts. There's a ton of them. Get some help if that's what you want. And if nothing else, drop Carson and I a line on LinkedIn, and we'll help you find that help. So, good to see you again, Carson. Happy holidays coming up. Hopefully you get some time with that family.
You bet. That is priority one, and back at you, Michael.
Yeah. Thanks again. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll talk to you next week.